welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrose, and today's episode is episode number 197. And if this is your first time hearing this podcast, welcome, and please be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you are listening, and please be sure to check out talesofhonorpodcast.com, where you can also read the episodes whenever you want, but the new episodes do come out every Wednesday and Sunday. And now, a tale of honor. James was born on the 30th of August, 1940, near Chicago, in Hinsdale, Illinois. He went on to attend and graduate from Morton High School in 1958 and enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps shortly thereafter. James primarily served in Okinawa, and when his enlistment was up in 1961, he moved to Virginia for work. 3 years later, James re-enlisted, but this time in the U.S. Army, and was assigned to Panama. Once deployed to the Republic of Vietnam with the 16th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division, it was his actions that would earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Company C was engaged in fierce combat with a Viet Cong battalion. Despite the heavy fire, Sergeant Robinson moved along the men of his fire team, instructing and inspiring them and placing them in advantageous positions. Enemy snipers located in nearby trees were inflicting heavy casualties on forward elements of Sergeant Robinson's unit. Upon locating the enemy sniper whose fire was taking the heaviest toll, he took a grenade launcher and eliminated the sniper. Seeing a medic hit while administering aid to a wounded sergeant in front of his position and aware that now the two wounded men were at the mercy of the enemy, he charged through the withering hail of fire and dragged his comrades to safety, where he rendered first aid and saved their lives. As the battle continued and casualties mounted, Sergeant Robinson moved about under intense fire to collect from the wounded their weapons and ammunition and redistribute them to able-bodied soldiers. Adding his fire to that of his men, he assisted in eliminating a major enemy threat. Seeing another wounded comrade in front of his position, Sergeant Robinson again defied the enemy's fire to effect a rescue. In so doing, he was himself wounded in the shoulder and leg. Despite his painful wounds, he dragged the soldier to shelter and saved his life by administering first aid. While patching his own wounds, he spotted an enemy machine gun, which had inflicted a number of casualties on the American force. His rifle ammunition expended, he seized 2 grenades and, in an act of unsurpassed heroism, charged toward the entrenched enemy weapon. Hit again in the leg, this time with a tracer round which set fire to his clothing, Sergeant Robinson ripped the burning clothing from his body and staggered indomitably through the enemy fire, now concentrated solely on him, to within grenade range of the enemy machine gun position. Sustaining 2 additional chest wounds, he marshaled his fleeting physical strength and hurled the 2 grenades, thus destroying the enemy gun position, as he fell dead upon the battlefield. His magnificent display of leadership and bravery saved several lives and inspired his soldiers to defeat the numerically superior enemy force. Sergeant Robinson's conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the cost of his life are in keeping with the finest traditions of the U.S. Army and reflect great credit upon the 1st Infantry Division and the U.S. Armed Forces. The date of James's citation reads the 13th of September, 1967, and shortly after, the Robinson Secondary School was opened in 1971 in Fairfax County, Virginia, in his honor, as well as the renaming of Elm Elementary to Robinson Elementary School in Lyons, Illinois, in 1967. James was the first Virginia resident to receive the Medal of Honor during the Vietnam War, and his medal was given to Robinson Secondary School by his father for display in their main hall. James William Robinson, Jr. is buried in the Clarendon Hills Cemetery in Darien, Illinois, and his name appears on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on panel 06E, row 102. And that was a tale of honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor Podcast. Please head on over to talesofhonorpodcast.com for more information, other ways to listen and support the podcast, and please be sure to leave a good rating and a nice review wherever it is that you are listening to this podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrose. Thanks for listening.